All right, guys. Today we are with Cole. He's a game developer. Should I call you that? A game developer and an entrepreneur, and he
Yeah.
owns his company. And today we are gonna be learning a lot of stuff from him, from inspirations and his inspirations and motivations, how to make a living out of Roblox, and business kind of vibe things that he will be sharing with us today. Okay, Cole, please introduce yourself.
My name is Cole. I make Roblox games. I've been doing it since I was 8 years old, and I also just released a startup company that connects Roblox developers and creators yesterday. And yeah, I do YouTube. I do social media. Started a bunch of companies in the past. I'm super entrepreneurial, and yeah, I'm grateful to be on the podcast.
Let's talk about your inspirations and motivations, and you can lead that into like your background stories about how you got started into like the whole journey that you are going going at right now. So yeah.
Okay. The earliest time I remember is when I was a little kid. My older brother, he made a Roblox game that did really well, and he was telling my full family about it. And my parents came down, and he's like, "I have 50 players on," which back in like 2011, that was like a lot of players. And my parents came down and like, "Oh, like congratulations, that's so amazing," or whatever. And then since that day, I'm like, oh, I want to be a Roblox developer too. I want to have the appraisal of my parents and like become successful too. So that's how I got into like making Roblox games. So I would say my older brother is almost my inspiration for that. So I thank him for that a lot. So that was definitely my original reason why I got into it because I saw my older brother doing it. I thought I could do it too.
No, that actually like reminds me of myself too. Like I have mentioned this a lot of times now, but like I have my brother. Back then he was really he built stuff on Roblox. Back then there was still a tickets, right? So he earns a lot of tickets, and our parents doesn't want us to spend money on the Roblox platform, right? Because they don't want us to
Yeah.
spend money on video games and that, like all that kind of stuff. Like he actually earned tickets, and then I was so jealous. So
Yeah.
tried. I wanted to try buildings as well. So yeah. All right. So yeah, I could relate it to that a lot. What's your as for now, like what happened next after that? After you got inspired by your brother? How do you get started with your journey?
I just started making games. I mean, it didn't start off well. It started off very, very horrible. The games were horrible. They wouldn't get any visits. I tried, I don't know, 50 games. I was trying to hire programmers because I didn't know how to program. I ended up learning how to build. And I ended up learning how to do a little bit of marketing. And my first hit game was Crossy Roads. I just ripped Crossy Roads, made it into a Roblox obby, stole their icon, put it on my game, called it Crossy Roads Obby, and that game got I think 30,000 visits, which for 9 or 8 year old me that was a ton. And the game would have like 20 players on all the time, and that was my first success. And it was completely ripped and completely illegal, but it was a great like taste of Roblox success as a super young kid. And as you kind of mentioned, I got a bunch of ticks, and that was huge for me back in the old Roblox days. Getting tickets was huge, and yeah, I got my first bit of like money and success and everything from that. And then I ended up making Crossy Roads 2, and then teleporting them into that game too. So then that Crossy Roads 2 started doing better. I just kind of learned the very basics of uh, game design and marketing and all that stuff. Around a year after my brother got me into it.
Dang, that's despite that age though, I think like that's huge. A lot. That's a lot. And
Yeah, I mean, I was telling my friends about it, and it was a big.
no one does what like now, like how many years now? Almost like 10 years?
Yeah,
A decade?
around 10 years.
Yeah. Wow, you grew a lot. A lot. A
Like,
lot. I, you nailed it for sure. All right, so after that to today, what have you learned from making games?
oh man,
Like you said
trying to
you
think
failed a
of
lot, right? What have you
yeah,
what have you learned throughout the mistakes?
Man, I'll give you an example of a more recent example. So recently spent around 2 years ago working on this game called Celebrity Simulator, and it's a game where people could like play the game and get instruments, and then play an instrument, and on their keyboard, it's like Guitar Heroes. They would actually press the letter, so it'd be like ASDF, and they'd be like playing the song, which like the song would match up, you
Mhm.
know. And the game idea was really cool. The modeling was really cool. Everything about the game was super cool. Um, and I would post leaks on Twitter, and there would be 800 likes. I had like 1,000 Discord members, and I'm like, oh man, this game's gonna kill it. This is too easy. It was my first time doing a simulator game. I'm like, oh, this is gonna kill it. This is super easy. And I remember releasing the game, spending like $2,000 on Roblox sponsors and ads and paying YouTubers, and like I was super pumped. It was huge. I was like, "Oh man, it's become the biggest simulator game on Roblox." And as soon as we released it, a bunch of YouTubers made videos. It was super cool, but the game did horrible. Like it had 2,000 players for a day, and then went down to like 100, and then died the next day. And the biggest realization I had is that the game was really hard to play. It didn't
Mhm.
work for people on mobile. The songs would sometimes glitch out and it wouldn't sync up with the actual beats. And like there wasn't a ton of depth to the game other than just getting new instruments and getting new songs. Other than that, there was really nothing else you could do. And I guess I just realized that a game can look great, a game can even feel great, and it can still fail if it's not fun and easy to play. You know, a hard to play game will never do well. I mean, unless there's obviously one-off examples of games that are really hard to play. I would say chess is really hard to play, but that game is
Mhm.
super fun. But yeah, it taught me that one, don't trust social media. Social media might say the game's going to do great, and it probably won't. You know, like that's not always the case. And two, focus on like actually figuring out what a game loop is. If you're a game designer and you don't know what a game loop is, and you don't understand the fundamentals of game design, like make sure you study that because that's how you make a fun game. And I didn't understand that when I was doing that game, and I really regret not looking into how to actually properly do a game
Mhm.
because yeah, it was fully based off of the movie Sing. They have a really cool scene of people on stage singing, and that was like the full concept around the game. The full concept of the game was based around this one scene in a movie. And instead of thinking of how do I make a fun game, it was just how can I do that but in Roblox, and that's why it failed. So yeah, I just think I realized now that the most important thing about a game is it being fun, and it's the dumbest thing ever. But if you're a game designer, you're making games. Sometimes you get lost in the art of it, and you completely forget that it needs to be fun too.
Yeah, definitely. Like I kind of relate to that a lot about fun. About like I think few months ago or like few weeks ago, I actually uploaded a clip of me explaining what it's like to work with Hazem. The Please Donate
Yeah.
the game. Like that time, I got opportunity to work with him, and what I learned is that I kind of forgot the fun. Also, like also forgot the fun part of doing the graphics because like it became so it became like a job and it became so numb.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like when it became so numb, I just couldn't feel the fun. But like after I talked with Hasim has this sort of mindset that has that is like everything is fun. Like the work that he
Yeah.
does,
He's a kid.
the game, it's fun. Like he
Yeah.
enjoy making it. So yeah, that actually related to that. So wanted to bring that up. Hmm.
It still feels much like to him. There's not even like a USD mindset at all. For him, it's
Mm.
like, what can I do to have the most fun? And obviously, I think he's making millions of dollars. But I think that he's still so young, and he doesn't necessarily even see it as a job at all. I mean, and I'm not even seeing my thing as a job much. But I just think he's so young, so fresh to the platform that it just doesn't, it feels like he's in creative mode. He can do whatever he
Yeah, yeah.
wants. So I think for him, yeah, it's like rubbing off on everybody else.
Mm.
It's reminding us all that we're just kids doing whatever we want to do, and yeah, it can be fun.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. After we talk about how the experiences of working in platforms of Roblox, let's talk about how you can actually make a living of Roblox. Like, okay, let's say someone asks you, what do you do? and you said,
Yeah.
how do you explain to them? You know what I mean?
I say I'm a video game designer. I don't even say Roblox.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like because like when we put a label, we put Roblox in the label, people kind of like, ooh.
Yeah,
One
like
one experience that I experienced so far is that I was in high school, right? And I told my teacher that, oh, I do, YouTube content creations, and also I do graphics for Roblox platforms. And they, are you a kid or something?
yeah,
Like, you were 18 and you play Roblox. And whatever I say, he just, you
yeah,
know.
it didn't matter.
So
Yeah,
obviously, but you can actually, people are actually making a living on this. So
yeah,
what's your take on this?
man. I've been doing this for so long. I've been making bits of money for so long. All throughout middle school, I made Roblox games. I was making a few $1,000s here and there doing it, and it was something that I had to come to terms with. Of like it has the stigma around it, as you're saying. It has the stigma
Mm.
of being a kid that like a game that little kids play. And that's all it is. Or for example, people are like, "Oh, it's a lot like Minecraft, right?" Like, no. It's like so much more than Minecraft. It's like Minecraft, but 10 times more complicated, and there's 10 times more like skill needed to make a good game, and there's 10 times more everything. It's like there's so many more layers to Roblox. And since yes, and when I was in middle school, I wouldn't tell any of my friends, but some of them would figure out when we would play. They're like, "Oh, you make games." I'm like, "Oh no," and then I tell people at school, and yeah, it was something that I really didn't like for a long time because a lot of the time parents don't even know what Roblox is, and if they do, it's oh my son plays it, my 2-year-old son plays it, whatever. And, yeah, definitely, I wanna almost compare it to YouTube in its early days. I've heard, like, Mr. Beast tell his friends, his family, "I'm gonna do YouTube full time." And everyone would tell him, like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's not a thing. That's not possible. Like, no one's making money off of YouTube. Why what do you think? You think you can make money on YouTube?" It was almost the exact same thing. There was no news articles talking about how Roblox developers are making good money. There was no like, the DevEx rates were way lower. I mean, everything was so much more immature, so it was really hard for me to yeah, to tell people I do Roblox. Like, I would tell people I make games, but I would never say Roblox. If they ask me, like, "Oh, they're iOS games. They're whatever." But yeah, I ended up in high school, I started opening up to people about it more, and it went from me being a kid. A lot of people would kind of like, "Oh, okay, whatever, man." But in high school, I'm like, "Yeah, I actually make Roblox games." They're like, "How much do you make?" I'm like a good amount," and I'm like, "What, really?" And suddenly they love it. So I think that Roblox needs to change as a stigma. That's a Minecraft remake into a like it's like Steam. It's like the App Store. It's like a professional platform that takes serious skills, and I would say it's one of the best and the best game design tools, like
Mm.
game development tools ever. A lot of phenomenal games on Roblox, and yeah, so I hate that stigma, but yeah, it took me a long time to overcome that stigma and accept it, and then just tell people about it, and then suddenly people think it's really cool when you start making money.
After we talk about how the whole thing as a how to how people got started making their things on Roblox and make a living out of it, can you give us steps by steps? Or like um let's say people who are like never really introduced to this kind of stuff before and wonder how you can actually make money out of Roblox.
So pretty
So
much like how do most people in the Roblox ecosystem make money?
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
asking.
basically.
Um, I would say that most of us are developers. We own games or we own a percentage of a game. And so if you're just hearing about Roblox, you think it's a kid's game. Well, I think one half of every American kid plays Roblox. I think every day or something. It's like one of the biggest games of all time. And well, it's a kids game, but parents are giving money to the kids. So it's $1 billion company. It's a $20 billion company. So there's a lot of money flowing into Roblox. There's so many players. There's so many like ways to make money, but the main way is by making a Roblox game. And it's one of the hardest things to do because it's not just like placing Minecraft blocks and then publishing it and you get 10,000 players. You're making thousands of dollars. It's not how that works. It's like you have to first 3D model the game, and then get a programmer to program the game for everything to work. And then you need to market the game, which is like the hardest part, one of the hardest parts. And but the thing is, if your game isn't that fun, like or if it's not as fun as most other games, it's not going to work. You can do the most marketing ever. If the game kind of sucks, people won't play it. So, oh man, I think the best way to get into, I guess, making Roblox games is to either learn how to build in Roblox or model, or script in Roblox, and then one of those two. And if you can do both, that'd be incredible. But most people can't. So I think, yeah, learning how to build or script or model inside Roblox is a great start because at least you're learning the skill. And then as you get better and better, you start working with better and better people. You start working with like bigger and bigger developers. And in the beginning, everyone, I want to say every single person I know started off by doing commissions. They were a builder, they did commissions for a bunch of people. They eventually kind of climbed their way up to working for some big games. And then eventually, like, okay, I want to make my own game now. And make their own game, blows up, becomes a success. Because it's way easier for someone to work under somebody else who is successful and figure it out themselves than it is even if I were to tell somebody everything you need to do to become successful. If it's like a self-learning thing and you're working under them, then you can learn everything you need to know. You can learn everything about marketing, everything about like you can learn about programming and how that works. And that's how I started. I worked for a really small developer building for them for like 1K Robux, which is $3. And then a few months later, I ended up working for a bigger developer, then a bigger developer. I ended up working for this guy named Udium, or Undim, something like that. And he owned a super big game called like Case Clickers, or so it's a similar version of that game that was huge. And I started working under him, and I ended up learning all about marketing. I ended up learning all about, oh, you need a programmer. Oh, you gotta get a good icon in your game. Oh, you gotta do a cool title in your game. And like I learned through watching him and working for him how to build a good game, and then that's kind of how I learned my fundamentals of how to make a game myself, pretty much.
Usually, developers who are successful start with taking commissions. Actually, mine started off when I took commissions from building. So I still remember I built a home store for like 5K Robux here and there when I was like, really young. And I joined a development studio, which I got kicked out later, and which the guy who I used to work in that studio, I was really young back then. I was like 13 or something. But like that guy from studio actually is the one of the team that is working on Adopt Me right now. And like it's been
Wow.
like 10 years.
I have a similar story
Yeah, yeah.
actually. I actually wanted to be a 3D animator for a while, and there's this guy on Roblox named Shift4D
For
who
sure, for
makes
sure.
3D animations.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for games. And so I spent like months trying to learn Blender, trying to learn how to animate or whatever. And he ended up following me on Twitter one day. And like now, this is like 5 years later. And I sent him like a super long message, like, dude, I love you so much. Like, I'm a huge fan. Like, you followed me. Like, what the heck? This feels so surreal. When I was a little kid, I loved you and I was a big fan and I was trying to learn how to animate. And like, I sent him like a love letter. I'm like, dude, it was so cool because when I was like 9 years old, I wanted to learn how to animate. And I was trying to reach out to him and he didn't respond, obviously, since I'm one of thousands of people. But now he follows me, and then now I talk to him, and I've actually hired him to work on my game. And it's crazy how, yeah, 10 years later, these people you look up to and you admired are just either working for you, working
Yeah.
with you, working on big projects. Like they're still alive. They're still on the platform, and they're still doing great stuff. And yeah, it's amazing. I love seeing people who I used to know or used to look up to reach out to me or talk to me. And there's like no better feeling than like having your heroes talk to you.
I used to have one experience is that okay, so I woke up one morning and I saw a DMs, and this one is from a client, a new client. And I opened the direct message, and bro, I used to talk with him on like 2 or 3 years ago. Like
Mhm.
crazy. And you remember the story I told about this development studio that I got kicked out? And the guy who used to work in that studio is now working for Adopt Me. And then recently, few I think last year or so, he actually followed me on my Twitter. And
That's amazing. Yeah.
it's like, what?
There's no better feeling. It's like, let's go. We made it.
All right. So let's before we get into like more of the entrepreneur side, I wanted to hear your opinions on Roblox graphics in general, or those graphics lads who are following the content that I create. Do you have any like suggestions as a game developers?
Yeah, if you're a graphic designer, I have one huge tip for you. Study psychology. It's huge. It can change the game. If you understand color theory, you understand psychology of players. So, like, let's say I come to you and I'm working on this game where it's a pet shop. Hypothetically, this definitely hasn't happened with Star and I. And I'm like, hey, I'm working on this pet shop game. My target demographic is like females between 12 and 16, or whatever it is. And here are some icons I've tried before, but they didn't do that well. If you're a graphic designer and you can go through the game and start understanding maybe why people are playing the game, you understand. Oh, so okay, if these young girls are playing this game, why are they playing the game? Oh, they're playing it because they want to nurture pets, or oh, they're playing it because they think the dogs are cute. And you can start thinking in this way of why are people playing this game? And then you can build an icon and a thumbnail that match the psychology of the reason why they play the game. It makes them curious to play the game. So, like, for example, an icon that worked for that game, the pet shop game, is a little girl having her hand on the glass of a dog, and the dog's paw was on the other side. It was a screenshot of like this little girl's hand on the glass and the dog's paw on the glass, and they're looking at each other, and the girl's crying. And that icon did phenomenal, only because it's exactly why they're playing the game. They're playing the game because they want to feel a connection with the dogs.
Mm.
They want to nurture dogs, and that in that icon they can see the emotion of the girl crying, wanting the dog, and they can relate to that emotion, and then it makes them want to play the game to feel that emotion. So I think studying psychology and understanding why do people click, and your graphics, could look the best and be the highest quality, but if it doesn't have good emotion to it, if people aren't feeling an emotion seeing the icon, then it's going to be really hard for you to get a high click through rate, which is all. This is like, that's all that developers want. We just want a high click through rate. That's why we order graphics. And so I think that studying psychology is like the number one thing to do as any graphic designer is understanding, or even if you're doing UI or anything, understanding where should the buttons go, how big should the buttons be, what color should the buttons be, because you can make it look pretty, but if it doesn't make intuitive sense and doesn't bring out emotion in the person, then it won't work. So that's my biggest tip. I've had sprees where I've tried to learn how to make graphics. I go into Blender and try to make an icon, and it looks horrible. So I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I think that studying psychology. I'll give you one more example. I'm not trying to ramble on for too long about this, but this is like
Yeah, sure,
something
sure,
that
sure.
I've been thinking about recently. I have a friend. His name is Wolf Gaming YT. He makes obstacle courses on Roblox. He was one of the biggest obby creators on Roblox for years and years. And he never hired a graphic designer ever. He would go into studio and go into a stage in the hobby, and then think of some unique idea that would make players click. Like do a really weird monster face, and a girl's like diving into the monster face, and it's like this super random like studio screenshot. It's literally a screenshot just from the studio of this like girl being eaten by a monster, and it's like this super weird kind of thing. But it brings out emotion in players. He understood the psychology. The icons didn't look the best. They weren't the highest quality. Some of them were even blurry. But because he understood the psychology of getting people to click, it didn't matter. He still got a really high CTR. And yeah, so I would say it's so important. Understanding the reason why people click and not just how to make things look pretty.
Now I'm currently studying in the programs of communication design in college right now, and also doing all the hustle right now, as well as also studying. So I I do learn a lot from the college about this psychology stuff of designs, because we all have to learn as a designer, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, actually, like my professor taught me that in graphic design, especially in today day and age, right? We are, especially when you are working with content creations or graphics, every pixel counts. Every pixels. You
Yeah.
have to be selective and you have to be decisive. I think what I got from the program so far is that I have more ability to think critically in terms of graphics. It's not just okay, making beautiful works, awesome, but like how you can creatively and critically think and manipulate it. You know how you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
I know exactly. I have an example of this actually. I think this will shock you. I don't know if I told you about this yet or not. Um, we had this icon for this is a pet shop game, by the way. The
Mhm.
hypothetical example is a real thing for anyone listening. Right, I'm actually making like a pet shop game. A second version of my current version. And so the icon, there's a dog on one side, and then there's a bunch of different color options on the other side. And then so it's like they can choose the color of their dog. Is kind of the idea of the icon, and it got a really good click through rate. And we ended up adding a brush that was onto one of the colors. So, like it was onto like the yellow color because the dog was yellow. To like tell the player, hey, like or like kind of explain the icon. If you choose the color yellow, your dog color is yellow. And that icon did really well. Had like a 3.4% CTR. We ended up flipping the brush. We did no other change. We flipped the brush just by literally rotating it to make it so the brush was coloring the dog instead of it being on the color. And the CTR increased by 0.3%. So now that icon is at like 3.9% CTR. So it increased by like 0.4% CTR by just rotating a brush like 30 degrees, pressing save, and then testing it. And I was shocked. I'm like, we did nothing different to just rotate one object, and now the icon did way better. So it's exactly what you're saying. Every pixel counts. I mean, or even changing the color of someone's shirt, even changing the color of someone's hat, even making the grass more green. I mean, these tiny changes can completely increase your game icon's click through rate. It's bizarre to me. It's so interesting.
You know, that's crazy. That story is crazy.
Yeah, I gotta send you that. I gotta send you the two different examples because it's. I was shocked. I was shocked.
um, we'd love to share that. We'd love to share. All right. All right, cool. Let's talk about your business idea, Social Seeds.
Okay.
Where did it start? Where's the beginning? What sparks this idea and the
Like,
development of it? Struggles, how you create, how long do you create it to? How long do you spend on this? All that kind of stuff. Shoot it up.
man, this goes so far back. Okay. Um, man. So 2 years ago, I was, for some reason, having such a panic attack, thinking that because I'm only inside the Roblox niche, that I cannot scale beyond a certain amount of money. I'm like, oh, I can't make over $1 million a year. It's impossible. I'm stuck inside Roblox. It's not possible. And I was super bummed. So I was trying to think of a business idea that I think could do super, super well and become like $1 billion company, you know, because that'd be way more fun than what I'm currently doing. And so I thought of this idea of um, pretty much brands paying YouTubers to wear certain types of clothing. So, for example, imagine I'm a famous YouTuber and this video gets 100,000 views. I thought of this idea of what if Adidas would pay me to wear this shirt and I wouldn't even mention Adidas once. I'm just wearing the shirt. I'm
Mm.
just showing the logo in the video throughout the video subconsciously. And that's how I thought of the name Social Seed is because it's like planting the seed in your consumer's mind and like so yeah so that was the original idea and I thought oh man this would be genius. I started talking to some famous YouTubers like Jack Gordon, Leon Hendricks. They're not super famous but they have like a few hundred thousand few hundred thousand subscribers and they do it full time. And I'm like, hey, what do you think of that idea, whatever. And I was super hyped and like I talked to some like really big people on Twitter about it like, hey, you think this idea could go big? And I was like, yeah, this is genius. And then so I start talking to a programmer I know because I used to make dropshipping YouTube videos, and there was a guy who reached out to me for a sponsorship, and we ended up like really liking each other and talking a lot. And so he ended up telling me that his best friend is a programmer. So I asked him, "Hey, can I meet your like best friend programmer and talk to him because I had this idea?" And well, we also had a full other business idea. All three of us had a business idea, but I'll skip through that part since we ended up not doing it. But I ended up pitching it to this program like, hey, I have this idea. We're going to use AI to track where the logo is on screen, and then we're going to charge the brand per second that the logo is seen in the video. And it was a super ambitious, completely unreasonable idea. Like it was impossible. And for a 17-year-old kid with $0 in his bank account, this is not a doable idea. Even though it's a great idea, it's so hard. And we ended up finding, so me and the programmer ended up finding a bunch of competitors, and then we started talking to some people, and they're like, "This is going to be really hard. Like you're gonna need millions of dollars in funding." And then I'm like, "Oh shoot, that's not what I wanted to hear." I guess the idea phase, the idea was so good, but to actually execute it properly was be nearly impossible. So we ended up just saying, so I ended up 8 months ago realizing I need to use leverage here. I have something that most people don't have. I have leverage in the Roblox community. I'm Roblox famous. So I'm like, oh man, I love the name Social Seed. I love the concept of paying big YouTubers to wear your logo or kind of do it like subconsciously. And then I realized, like, oh my gosh, there's this YouTuber I've been working with named Glitch, and he's been making a video on my game like, almost like every week, or every week or so. And we've been adding custom admin commands for him, so he'll play my game and kill like little kids with admin commands and troll and make videos. And he was getting like 2 or 3 million views per video. And he would message me, and we'd message every single time, like every single week. He's like, "Hey, can you add this new command?" I'm like, "Sure." So we kept adding these new commands, and his videos kept doing really, really well. And then every time he posted a video, my game would hit like 2,000 players instantly, go from like 500 players to 2,000 players, and it would really, really boost my game. And he made a bunch of money because his videos got tons of views. And I realized I kind of connected the dots. Social Seed as this idea for brands to pay YouTubers, and then I'm like, oh, this YouTuber making a video on my game helping me. And then I'm like, holy crap, I have a genius idea. What if I make a platform? It's the same thing as my original idea. It's a platform, but it's connecting Roblox developers like myself to Roblox YouTubers. So then they pay these YouTubers to make videos on their game. And so 8 months ago, we started on the idea. I hired my developer full time, and we had like a UI designer design the website, and then he was doing all the programming, and I was kind of managing all the relationships and marketing and everything. And we released it literally yesterday. Yesterday, like literally 28 hours ago, we released the site. And we've gotten great feedback, and we've gotten like I think we have over 100 creators. Some of them are huge, and yeah, and so that's how I kind of thought of the idea, and it was just 8 months ago. So it has taken me a long time. It's costed me a ton of money to do this, but I love the idea so much, and it's solving such a big problem because developers need to advertise their games. It's getting harder and harder, and this can help them with that. And creators, it's a win-win for them too because creators are like, hey, you'll pay me to make a video on your game that I gotta play. I gotta make videos on games anyways. So pretty much, it's like they need games to make videos on. If they're getting paid on top of that,
It's a
and then
win-win.
they're also making money from the ads. It's a win-win. We're paying
Yeah,
to get players. They're making money, and then they get bonus money from working with Social Seed.
that's absolutely
So yeah,
sick. Like,
yeah. Thank you.
I see this as a problem for a long time, but there's no platforms like platforms,
Yeah,
that establish so well. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Definitely, I think it
yeah.
will go well. Fingers crossed, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I really hope so. I put so much time, 8 months. It's so much money into this. It's not cheap hiring UI designers, programmers full time, and getting my lawyer to do the privacy apology page and everything. Like, I had to build out a full, like, obviously, company for it and make sure that we were following the laws, and like, it's crazy. It's so much harder than I thought it would be. It took an extra like 3 months. As we thought it'd take us 5 months. It ended up taking us 8 months. And there was just so many little things we added, oh, we didn't even think, oh yeah, how many days will it take to send the video? We got to add that. Oh, what if they want to repost the same video on their TikTok page that they just posted on the YouTube Shorts? We got to add that. Oh crap! Now an agency wants to be a part of our site. We got to add a full thing for agencies. And so it just took us so much longer to build out because we kept realizing things. We kept getting feedback from people.
Mm.
And yeah, so it ended up being a bit of a headache, a bit of a grind, but it has been an absolute blast. It has been my favorite. My Roblox game is the Roblox game and this are my two favorite projects I've ever worked on, and I'm super bullish on it, and I think it'll do super well.
All right, cool. I'm gonna ask you about how you go with growing audience. Now we know like today, growing audience is really important to get yourself discovered in whatever careers you do.
I want to give a huge shout out to Alex Ramosi. I was following him back in the before when he had like 30K subscribers. I was following him, and he always said like build goodwill with your audience. Give them free value at no cost. Don't ask for anything. Just always give them free value, and then you're gonna have an audience that trusts you and likes your feedback, and they want to give you something because you've given them all this value. They want to give you something in return. And so for the past 2 years, I've been building up my Twitter page, and now I'm at 15,000 followers. Hopefully, by the time someone's watching this in a year, I have 100,000 followers. But and I've been doing these threads on Twitter saying, "Hey, your Roblox game has 0 players. Here are 10 like tips to 10x that, or like to get 100 players." And I would give actual valuable tips. People always try to gatekeep things and say like, "Oh, well, you don't tell them everything, right? You don't tell everybody all your tricks, right?" I'm like, "No, no. Everything I know is pretty much on Twitter. I don't care." Because I'm building goodwill. I'm building a brand for myself of people who like me and trust me, and it has served me so well. But yeah, so I've been tweeting well, in the past, like once every month, but now I'm trying to do it once every week of just these threads. Hey, your game has 0 players, or hey, this is my friend, Martin. His game went from 0 players to 20,000 players. I helped him do it. Here are the 10 things we did, and they're so value packed. These threads are so value packed that like it's still like I still get more likes on my threads than any other person on Roblox doing threads. I'm still like the number. Like I don't see anyone else making threads getting as much likes as I do because I don't leak. I don't hide anything. I release everything. Here, you do this, do this, do this. And then I've had people message me, say, "Hey, I just read your thread. I just implemented it, and my game's on the front page now." I've had multiple people come up to me and say, "Hey, I just made like $10,000 because of the value in your thread." I'm like, "Good, happy to hear. Like, let's go." And I don't take a percentage. I don't charge them. It's all free. I'm giving out free value. I'm building goodwill. So giving somebody free value, like it's almost like you're doing like one-on-one consultation. Imagine if every single one of your followers, you called them for an hour every single week. They're gonna love you. Like if you need anything from them, they're gonna respond instantly. So by giving this value, I've been able to build a super strong and active following around people wanting to learn how to do game development. And I think that there's many ways of building goodwill, whether that be doing like a giveaway, whether that be doing free graphics for somebody, or posting threads on how to get a higher CTR on an icon, whatever it is. Whatever niche you're in, if you start posting actually valuable threads on your topic, and even if you don't know much, you just give it your best shot. People will follow you, people will like you, and people will reach out to you, and you can start building. You can start to build a huge audience around around it. So yeah, I would say that's the number one thing is just give free value and don't hold back. Whatever you know, share it to everybody, and then everyone will love you. And then now you have great connections. Now you have a bunch of followers, and then now you just gotta try to figure out what else to give to them. Like what more value can you provide to those people? You know?
So, by far, everything you say so far, despite being 18s, 18 years old, right? How the hell did you manage it? Like all of it. Are you currently studying in high school or do you graduate?
I just graduated high school,
Or
so I decided not to go to college.
mm-hmm.
So I moved out to Austin, Texas, and I live here now. And I have my setup, and I'm just working all day, every day. So I'm just grinding it out.
Dang, that sounds fun. How do you
Yeah,
manage
it,
it?
it is.
Yeah, as a teens, how do you manage all the stress? How do you manage all the tasks? Because like when you have to deal with a lot of people, a lot of teams, a lot of stuff that you grow, how do you manage it?
Yeah, it's something that I've been working on in the past few years. Is I There was a time where I had 3 projects at once going, like 3 different businesses at once going, and I've realized for me 3 is the limit. My brain, like I get super anxious. I just can't think. Like 3 things at once for me is too much. But I've realized 2 things for me I can manage. I can multitask 2 things at once. The way I manage it is this is gonna sound kind of silly, but it's pretty easy if you have the right people in place to manage things. If you have an amazing programmer for your Roblox game, and he can help manage things for you, then you don't need to manage it as much. You gotta help set up the document. You gotta tell him what you want. You gotta call him a few times a week. You gotta text him every single day when he has a question. But sometimes the best employees don't really need to be managed. So I've done is I've been learning how to hire employees that manage themselves and work themselves. I give them the vision. I give them everything they need to finish something, and then they can just go in, manage themselves. They have their own motivation. I'm paying them like real rates, like full time salary, and then yeah, they're committed. They love the idea, and they manage themselves, and they get the project done themselves. But yeah, it definitely gets to be a lot. Like right now, I just went through like 200 messages, and I'm have meetings with a bunch of companies, and there's investors that are going to talk to me, and there's so many different like angles and opportunities I have, and I'm so scared to say no to them because it could be a big one that could really help me. Like, I go on my phone on remind, and I just write down any meeting, any call I have. So whenever anyone's like, "Hey, want to chat?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure. What time?" And I write down my phone. Okay, 11 p.m. tomorrow. Chat with this person. And like literally, I've tried doing like Google Calendar schedules and everything, and trying to manage it. But it doesn't work for me. For me, I'm like a day by day kind of person. Like, oh, I'll check my phone.
Yeah.
What do I have today? Oh, these two things. Okay, good. It helps me it makes me less overwhelmed. When I was in high school, the way I would manage it is I wouldn't do good in classes, and I'd be on my MacBook all the time, and I would just be working all day and answering DMs all day, and I got good grades, but like I wasn't a good student. I didn't try that hard. I didn't. Like I really didn't put much effort into school. I was just working on my MacBook, and thankfully for most of my classes, it was online after COVID, so I could just do that. I was just on my MacBook. They didn't know what was going on. The teachers thought I was working. And I'd go home and finish the assignment in 10 minutes. And then yeah, I had an hour in class where I was just working. I'm like, okay, perfect. I got an hour of free work in the day. Or in lunch, I'll be on my phone all day, texting people on Discord. So it's so hard to do in school. It's like you just need to sacrifice it, But now that I move out on my own, it's way easier to manage. Obviously I have way less stuff going on. I have an extra 8 hours a day to work. So now it's getting easier and easier to figure out how to manage everything.
Have you ever looked into like whole work life balance thing stuff? What's your take on
It's
that?
something I'm looking into. Um, you know, I'm torn because there's someone like Alex Ramosi who says that that's not a real
Yeah, yeah,
thing,
yeah,
and it's something that you just gotta work. If you love your job, you're gonna want to work.
yeah.
Then I've had other people that say like, "Oh no, like being happy and finding happiness and having friends is more important." um, I think it's really important to have both. I think there is a work life balance that everyone should try to follow. Like I think that if once I have friends, I just moved to a new city, so I don't have many friends yet. But once I have friends, I will spend 3 to 4 hours, a week hanging out with them. Like I'll put it in my calendar. I can't say no. I think it's really important. I mean, I think that if you're working all the time and you don't have any friends, that you can get depressed pretty easily, and sometimes your friends will have better ideas than you, or they'll see something you're doing and point something out and like, oh, that's really smart. So I think having friends, having community is actually super important, and like being loved by others. I think if you're just always in work mode, there's a part of you that wants to be loved, and if there's a part of you that thinks if this succeeds, you'll be loved. And then
Yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
if and maybe that's true, but I think it's good to have like love along the way. Because it's like once I become a millionaire, then I'll have friends. Once I'm a millionaire, once I move, then I'll do this.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
but like it's usually not how it works. Usually, usually your friends are right in front of you. Usually, your family is there to help you. Usually, there's people all around you supporting you, but you're just rejecting them because you don't think they're for you. So I think that it's important to have people around you, even when you're grinding, even if they're just listening to you talk for an hour or whatever. That's still helpful. It's helping me clear my mind. It's helping me feel loved. So I think that's crucial to like success.
You remind me of like, I don't know if you were like this too, but like, are you a type of person who when you have an idea and you just couldn't stop talking about it? Like
Yeah,
you
that's yeah,
you
that's
you want to say something to someone about the idea.
Yeah, exactly. I just got on a call with my really old friend, and he grew this TikTok page to like a few 100,000 followers or whatever, doing these fitness posts. And I'm like, dude, you should have called me. I would have helped you for hours. I would have spent hours like talking to you about ideas how you can monetize and how you could grow it even more. Like, I love ideas, and I love it when you can see growth. Like, I love helping somebody, and then it actually helps them. It's like, hey, can you help my game get more players? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I give them 10 tips, and then their game gets 10,000 players. I'm like, that worked. That's great to see. The stuff in my head is actually it's true. I actually know what I'm doing. Yeah, I love talking about ideas. Even if it's not my idea, I still love talking about it. I love hearing about business ideas. I love hearing about Any idea, you know. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll go
that's
all
great.
night talking about ideas.
I also be like that too sometimes, and I always talk to my mom, like every single time. I don't know why, but like I don't have, and also my friends as well, like the close one. I always tell them about the ideas that I have, isn't that
Yeah,
just fun to talk,
it
and
is fun, and I
yeah,
understand like maybe they don't care,
yeah,
but
I know,
it's like I don't care. I want to share. You know,
for
it's
sure.
just for me.
And also like when you talk with your friends, you start to generate new ideas too. And when you talk, the more you talk, the
Yeah,
more you generate, and it's just
yeah,
positive loop,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The more you listen and talk, the more ideas you have, and then you want to talk about those ideas, and then you're in a good mood, and you're just talking all day about God knows what.
All right, Cole. It's been a pleasure to be talking with you for this episode, man. Yeah, have anything to left off with the anything that you are planning to do in the future and wanted to, leave off some message?
It's a good question. My future plans right now are I have a blank slate. I've purposely set myself up. I have Social Seed, which just launched, and then I have this Roblox game that I'm launching like in a month. And I've purposely created space for myself to have nothing planned. I think it's important to have space of nothing because you'll think of ideas during that time. And then you'll figure out what you want to do next. I think that if let's say you're in a job and you're working for that job for 10 years, and it's all you think about, it's all you do is just that job. You might not ever get a chance to sit back and think, do I want to keep doing this? So I think that purposely creating space in your schedule in your life for a month, for 2 months, and for people that's going on vacation and just not thinking about work I think it's really important. It's how I thought of all my best ideas. It's how I thought of my 2 ideas I'm working on right now, which I think are my best ideas. Just, you know, you don't always have to be grinding. You can
Mhm.
take breaks, and usually those breaks will really benefit you, you know? And I mean, I guess a message that I would want to tell up and coming developers or graphic designers, um, I'd want to say that I'm trying to think of something wise that younger me would want to hear because younger me would definitely launch this podcast and like be inspired. Um, you'd be surprised in 5 years how far you will come. You might see people like I don't know Star or me and be like, oh man, I hope one day I'm at their level. But there's gonna be a day where we follow you on Twitter and we reach out to you and you respond all happily sending us love messages. And I think that people underestimate where they're going to end up. I think that if you put in the work and you learn a skill, you're gonna end up so much further than you thought you would. So I would say like if you're thinking about doing something or you're slowly learning something, like keep going, keep learning, and double down, and don't be scared to share it. Because even though your friends might call you a loser, even though your teachers may laugh at you for making Roblox games or being a part of Roblox, in 5 or 10 years' time, you're going to have this skill that is so valuable that companies will pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars for it. That people will look up to you for it. So don't listen to people who hate on you. When people say you can't do it, you can. Believe in yourself, and yeah, and also think bigger, dream bigger. You know, if your parents always told you, "Oh, you need to go to college and do this," you can figure out a way to not do that. Like, it's possible. It's how my parents. They said they were always telling me had to go to college. Eventually, I ended up making enough money off Roblox where I told them I'm not going to go to college, and it happened. So I think bigger and think about what do I want in my life, and learn those skills and double down and don't be scared to share it and post it. And your friends are going to call you a loser, but guess what? When you're making tons of money, your friends won't call you a loser anymore. So just give it 5 years. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's my message to younger me.
All right, cool. To close off the podcast, can you say at the end of the day, you're the star? Peace out.
At the end of the day, you're a star. Peace out.